Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis, and today we're going to be talking about Ripple and XRP, so sit back, relax, and before we fully jump on into this video, I do just want to ask guys, could please leave a like on this video. It does help the channel grow immensely, and of course, I always do greatly appreciate it. Now, I am recording this a little bit ahead of time, and it is going to be scheduled for later, but for the most part, this market is waking up. We are seeing some altcoins up 80+%. We watched Zilliqa go absolutely crazy today. The trade volume was up 5,000%. We hit about $2.2 billion in volume in the 24-hour span. It is absolutely massive, but I am expecting altcoins to start going absolutely crazy very, very soon. We have been seeing some nice, massive price appreciation on the 7-day span throughout the entire altcoin market, and I'm just very excited for the future of this space, especially as we do range on here in a Bitcoin season. I know that, Bitcoin for the most part has kind of just been ranging sideways, but for the most part, I am watching this market unfold closely as we do kind of move on into, the later days of this month, and then, of course, as we do march on into April, and so I do believe that the price action will continue to follow through, and I do believe that we are repeating that 2017-2018 cycle all over again for our topping points to be in the fall time frame. And guys, it looks like our settlement could be happening in September. So with all of this in mind, let's talk about a few things. So I have been hearing about this, massive XRP killer, right? It says Ripple is under siege as 63 central banks collaborate on a new payment system. If you guys did miss this is basically with the BIS as well as major other central banks. This is their new, Project Dunbar sort of project. It is a CBDC project, and we do see it's a SWIFT replacement system essentially. We see the Bank for International Settlements Innovation Hub, a company owned by 63 banks representing countries that make up 95% of global GDP, is creating a platform for international payments that would directly compete with Ripple. Now, I want you all to know that when we are talking about this, I really wouldn't, worry too much about these, projects that say that they are going after like XRP or what Ripple is trying to do with XRP. Whenever we hear things like this, it really is just, buzzword articles. Like, I do believe that this is an entire, buzzword article. I mean, think about the title of this, like Ripple is under siege, right? But also, a lot of individuals within the XRP community were kind of concerned about this, asking me to, comment on it. Well, shout out to Wrath of Kahneman. I'm hoping that I'm saying that name right, but we do see lots of questions around, Project Dunbar. Is it an XRP killer? No, but there's a thread anyways. If you are looking for information, 20 tweets, buckle up. Now, this is, a massive breakdown for the most part in terms of, some, solid questions. But here we have, Dunbar was an experiment to see if CBDCs could work together. That's all. Not live, not at scale. Their own conclusion was it's unlikely all governments would share one platform, in which case XRP still has a use case. Dunbar is a POC by Australia, Singapore, Malaysia, South Africa, and BIS, not the 63 BIS member countries. It was conceived as a multi-CBDC system tried on two blockchains, Quorum on Ethereum chain, developed by Consensus and implemented by Partior, and Corda, developed and implemented by R3. And again, proper use of this MCBDC means participants must already have a national CBDC. By the way, it offers a way to pay CBDC to CBDC or use sponsor banks for countries unable to directly access other currencies, not necessarily eliminating foreign holdings. The distinction is important as the direct CBDC model creates significant regulatory complications between countries that must share their central banks and exposure to each other's policies. They must agree to a rulebook and governance to participate. And again, the hybrid model without the direct CBDC interaction requires sponsor commercial banks, increasing complexity and in some ways mimicking a corresponding system. At least in Access, researchers viewed it as inefficient because intermediaries are required. And this is the big thing here, right? So when we are talking about intermediaries and we're talking about even capital and liquidity in general, right, it's all focused on settlement here. And even when we look at things like this, so I'm not going to read the entire thing. Like, if you guys do want to go read this entire thing, you guys are more than welcome to. I just want to read the initial parts of this. But initially, when we are talking about anything in terms of an XRP killer, right, the reason why we don't hear that, being brought up a lot is because XRP, and with what Ripple has built addressing XRP's use case, is the idea of settlement, right? It's settlement and liquidity. Those are the biggest key components of what XRP is really offering for RippleNet products. I look at XRP, comparing it to anything else. It's almost like, comparing, you have this luxury sports car. We'll say, it's a super car, if you will, and then kind of comparing it to like a bicycle. Like, a lot of these platforms that are being built, for an example, like Project Dunbar, like he said, it is not live. It's an experiment, essentially. Even when we were comparing it to like Swift, right? We have RippleNet, which is, we know it's massively more efficient than Swift. And a lot of these other projects that these major central banks are building, and for example, I know a lot of people kind of question this, saying, why would they utilize RippleNet when they could just build their own? The issue isn't trying to build their own, it's trying to build something similar to on-demand liquidity, even though that technology is already patented. Also, you got to understand that it takes years for this technology to actually be built, and the need for this technology right now is ever growing in a massive demand. It's actually an urgent need right now to have something similar to RippleNet technology with XRP in terms of on-demand liquidity. Now, I'm not going to go in depth on this too much, but I just will say this. When we see things like this, you got to understand that these major products that are coming out with CBDCs, comparing it to something like RippleNet with what XRP does for on-demand liquidity and line of credit for SMEs, is completely different. Nothing will compare to the on-demand liquidity basis that XRP does solve in terms of unlocking Noshto Voshto accounts, but also nothing compares in terms of settlement time with the option of having non-pre-funded accounts. There's nothing even similar to it, because at the end of the day, this is fully patent technology, and Ripple has built this in a whole decade. They've been working on it for a whole decade, and even beforehand, obviously it was in development for a while. So this is something that isn't built overnight, and it is being adopted greatly right now. But we do see here a new monetary order is developing. Nobody knows what it will look like, but I don't think it was random that central banks globally have been stockpiling gold since the last financial crisis. Central banks have always wanted the public to dislike gold. Why? Confidence, right? And I honestly think the main reason why these central banks are stockpiling gold is because I think CBDCs will most likely be, backed by gold. I think that is the easiest way to make it, deflationary instead of it inflationary. So, again, anyone can have their own idea, but I do believe that a massive crash along the financial markets is coming. So who knows if this is going to be, something that they're trying to hedge their, bets against with. But I think that things are getting very interesting as we do kind of move forward into, a digital market. And we do see Russia's prime minister urges that it is necessary to integrate, crypto into the country's economy. Again, like I said, digitization of these massive economies is taken over right now. I think that this is becoming an evidently more clear picture day by day as we do see crypto kind of being ushered in terms of adoption. I just mentioned this in today's video on XRP. I talked to you guys a little bit about how we are seeing the major shift in crypto from banning it to getting rid of it to all of a sudden they are adopting it. They're seeing the positivities in it. They're seeing the potential and the power behind this technology. Things are rapidly evolving in this space. We do see breaking news as well. Gazprom, has asked India's largest gas transmitter, GAIL India, to pay for gas imports in euros instead of dollars. Remember, Russia and China also recently agreed on a 30-year gas deal via new pipeline, settling in euros. This is getting interesting because honestly, again, at the end of the day, this is going to be very bad for the US dollar. The US dollar is losing its dominance day by day by day as more and more things like this unfold. I'm watching this closely as well, and I think everyone should be watching this closely as well, because at the end of the day, we are losing massive demand not only to the digital yuan, but now we're seeing these nations not wanting to utilize the US dollar itself. So things are getting very interesting as we do see a lot more nations kind of trying to stay away from the US dollar. We also see here close to having global coverage of on-demand liquidity, more capital efficient, low cost, no need for pre-funded accounts, faster cross-border payments. Listen closely, guys.
In 2021 with RippleNet, we ended the year at a $10 billion run rate in terms of volume moving through RippleNet as a whole. And we're in 22 destination markets with on-demand liquidity. And that was a core piece of feedback that we heard from customers. They want that product but they want it in more destinations.
And I love the fact that he is mentioning the idea of like on-demand liquidity. You know, these customers want it in more and more destinations. It is growing and growing in more and more adoption. Sorry, not adoption, but in more and more demand in terms of these areas that do want to adopt it. But we have been seeing the adoption of on-demand liquidity evidently growing day by day as things move towards a rapidly evolving, payment structure around things like, of course, more capital, efficiency, low cost. On-demand liquidity itself is becoming, a very popular aspect because nobody wants these pre-funded accounts anymore. They account for inefficient cross-border payments, extremely high cost, and of course the settlement time is nowhere close to the on-demand liquidity basis that Ripple does offer. Also think about it like this, right? With RippleNet, with the power of XRP comes over 60+% savings on fees. I mean, it's a no-brainer move. Now, overall, I'm not going to finish the rest of this video because it is talking more so about just cross-border payments and how it is evolving with on-demand liquidity. But I will wrap this up with one last basis point, and that is this. In case you missed it, with the help of partner bank Intermex, Ripple expands its presence to the European remittance market in 70 countries. Guys, this is absolutely massive. Again, like I've said, on-demand liquidity and Ripple is taking over at a rapid pace through its connections to a lot of these other partners that they do have. I've talked to you guys about this with Tranglo. I've talked to you guys about it with Accenture. I've even talked to you guys about it with Finastra as well. These are like 1,000 plus, banking clients that are connected through one massive connection. Pay attention to that. Ripple is expanding its tentacles into the European remittance market and 70 countries through partner bank Intermex, which leverages RippleNet for cross-border remittance services. In a recent agreement, Ripple partner Intermex has moved to acquire La Nacional and LAN Holdings Corp, a remittance company serving more than 70 countries. So this is going to get very interesting, very fast. We see the deal is expected to close in mid-2022. This expands its reach into the European remittance market via key EU countries, Spain, Italy, and Germany. In February 2020, Ripple announced its partnership with NASDAQ-listed International Money Express Intermex, a money remittance service company. So again, when we're talking about on-demand liquidity, it's clear to me where this is really positioned in this market. I see on-demand liquidity with Ripple taking over at a rapid pace as we do further and further evolve into a digital area of growth within payments. I think that it is so close. I would say that we are at that point of almost mass adoption of on-demand liquidity in terms of remittances and even cross-border payments in general. And this is a $156 trillion market. So, just imagine how much of that capital is actually going to flow into Ripple's hands. And technically, realistically speaking, how much of it XRP is actually going to settle. So, with that being said, I hope that kind of clarifies not only the idea of, hey, is XRP getting killed right now by this Project Dunbar? No, it's not, obviously. And then, of course, I hope that kind of covers the idea that, hey, the US dollar is losing dominance. And, at this point in time, digital systems are being adopted at a very urgent pace. And I do believe that RippleNet is just around the corner in terms of the next major stepping stone for adoption, with a settlement being very, very close. I do think that we will see a settlement by or before September. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on if you guys want more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. As always, I hope that you all have a beautiful day or beautiful night wherever you guys are in this beautiful world. This has been Nick. Peace out, guys.